Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the One Extraordinary channel. I am Janae, and it is great to be with you today. I want to use this time to talk a bit about the great resignation and looking for jobs and job interview. If you haven't heard, everywhere across the states here in the United States, there are help wanted signs. There are people who have been leaving work in pursuit of other work over the last few months or since COVID had began, actually since 2020. Steadily the numbers have been going up of people who have left jobs, and so COVID just kicked off something that put into high gear people who are doing something alternative than to be in a traditional office doing the kind of work that they were doing before. So there are a lot of people who are starting businesses and are new to business ownership. There are a lot of people who are working in the gig economy because it gives them some flexibility. One of the main proponents or the main reasons, and a lot of what people are saying, people who are pursuing new avenues are parents who are pursuing new avenues because a lot of children are in school districts or in school where it's really unpredictable. We it doesn't feel like we are in the pandemic in the same way we were like March 2020. Everything shut down, everyone quarantined. It's not the same, but we are still in the middle of a global pandemic. There are a lot of precautions to look out for, and there are a lot of disruptions to school. And so, a lot of people who are parents or who are caregivers have a lot of disruption to school or caregiving routines and available help. So, the reason that I wanted to come on and talk about job interviewing, because just as much as you have people exiting organizations, this has also freed up a lot of opportunity for people who have been in the same organization or in the same position for a lot of years. So, if you don't know me, again, my name is Janae. And I am an organization development practitioner, human resources professional by trade. I've worked nearly 20 years in corporate America in various roles in human resources and organization development. I have my own business, and it is 10 years as of this month that I've been in business, and it is called One Extraordinary Life. I've linked the website in the description box below so you can take a look. If you have any questions about any of the services that are offered, please feel free to reach out to me at info@oneextraordinary.com for more information about those services that are available. But I wanted to give in my career, having worked in human resources, I've put together a lot of job ads, have worked with people individually for their careers, coaching and mentoring. I've written the job descriptions that back in the day, 20 years ago, used to go into newspapers, but now they go onto sites like LinkedIn or Indeed. And so I have a lot of perspective in doing hand to hand what now applicant tracking systems do. You know how when you submit a resume or your profile to an organization, it goes through a process called their applicant tracking system. And if that applicant tracking system finds you as a suitable match for the position, it'll categorize how high or low a match you are, and it will trigger the system to alert the talent acquisition specialist or the recruiter that you should be interviewed for the position. That I used to do. That used to be a big manual process in human resources, and I used to do that very early in my career. Therefore, I have done a lot of reading resumes, a ton of reading resumes. I've read thousands of resumes and prepped people or have done interviews with people. So now in my business, I prep people for interviews. I do resumes as well. And I wanted to talk about, because we're in a great resignation and because there are a lot of positions that are actually open, it's a very advantageous time for somebody who is looking for a new role, someone who needs to have an accommodation that their current job is not making, and they are looking for a different role because of that, or they just want to try out for something that they never thought they might have the opportunity to try out for because those jobs were never available. They were held pretty steadily, and now those people, for whatever reason, have left the workforce and resigned. They've started businesses. They have shifted to other opportunities themselves. So the market is flooded with opportunity. So I want you to think about, like any other market, the stock market, the grocery market, just, the laws of supply and demand. The labor market is no different. There have been times back in the past, over the last 20 years, that you might have heard popular narratives in the news as the talent wars. Or that, people were trying to get positions and they really couldn't get positions because there was such low unemployment. Many people were working, and that there weren't as many opportunities for people to get the kind of roles that they were looking for. Pay was also a discrepancy. Pay can still be a discrepancy right now, but there are a lot of roles that are paying handsomely, that are paying incentives and bonuses, sign-on bonuses, anything for you to come and work for them. So that means great opportunities for people who are looking to shift their careers. And really, in the last few months, my business, I've been talking to so many people and working with people who have been in their roles for 20 years, 25 years, 10 years, 15 years. Never thought that they would leave, but then now they're curious for another position because their profile was out there on LinkedIn and someone reached out to them, or someone knows them, went to a different job and tapped them for an opportunity. People who have been stuck in roles for a long time, knowing that they could be doing more, but because their organization didn't ever have the budget to add on more roles, or people again were in those roles and they were like lifers, the roles and opportunities were never available to them. And now there's more roles that are available, different things. There are a lot of opportunities in organizations to do work as related to COVID-19 changes. So jobs are now adding unique titles on and unique roles on that people may not necessarily have had the experience before because there was no need to make these types of changes pre-COVID life. But now people are qualified based on having had years of experience, and it's perfect for them to help an organization transition to its next phase of success through their experience with what they knew before, and now it's required in another organization because of COVID. So people are shifting for all kinds of reasons. Some people are shifting because, frankly, they will have to go into an environment that's not remote. They're not comfortable with that. Their responsibilities as a caregiver or a parent doesn't allow them to do that in this really sensitive COVID age. I mean, if you have children in the school system, if you have parents or elderly family who's in the medical system, there are so many restrictions of what you can and can't do, what your availability looks like, the limitations of people who are going to be able to care for your loved ones, that you may be the person who needs to be remote. You need flexibility. Even if you can't have the people close to you in the house while you're working, you don't need to be working a half hour or more than that away from where you need to be at a moment's notice. I know for me as a parent, I have been called in this school year from September to January. I've been called 3 times to pick up my children or accommodate some sort of COVID um, guideline expectation, pick them up from school, um, support remote learning for a couple of weeks because of, for whatever reason, exposure in the classroom, labor shortages that don't allow enough bus drivers, whatever the case may be. We're all impacted by COVID and we're not in a place of stability at all yet. So, for those reasons, I know many people are making decisions that they have to do what they have to do. I've been talking to a lot of people like that. So, let's just jump into what some of the tips will be for job interview. So this is at 9 minutes and 5 seconds right now. So I'll try to make some of the tips a little bit quicker and just put a timestamp to get right to the tips. Anyway, all right. So one of the things that I know that people do when they are interviewing for a job, because again, I've had people who are new to the job market, younger folks or younger people newer to the job market who really haven't had the experience, or people who have been in the job market so long they haven't interviewed for a job in 20 years and don't know what to do. So this is all across the board. It doesn't matter where you are in your job search or how many years of experience you do or don't have. I think these are some universal things that you should be aware of if you're interviewing for a new job. So one of the things things is to make sure that you are prepared, both physically prepared with paper and electronically prepared. And what do I mean by that? Oftentimes people will come to an interview, and right now there's a lot of remote interviews. There's software for you to do a video interview. I know there's software for you to get certain responses, like they send, like the company, hiring manager, recruiter, talent acquisition specialist will send you out a link to your email. You click on it, it has several questions. You record your responses, the responses are uploaded. And if you pass that portion of the interview, you'll go into the next phase, whether that's with a live person or the hiring manager or whatever that next phase is. So there are so many different ways to be interviewed outside of being in the physical office. But what you want to make sure you have handy if you're having a physical office interview or you're having an electronic interview, it's most likely that if you have an electronic interview, the person is prepared with your paper beforehand. You've already sent a resume, you've already sent information, an application, whatever they need to evaluate whether or not you are going to you're going to be able to be qualified for the role. So that's probably out of the way. But if you go into anyone's physical presence, always make sure that you have a copy of your CV, your curriculum vitae, if it's like a scholarly role, or your resume. So make sure, even if you've already submitted it, even if someone emailed you for an extra copy, bring an extra copy, a copy for yourself and a copy for them. So that's number one. Number two, electronically. What do I mean by being prepared electronically? In this day and age, you are going to be researched before anybody makes a decision about you. And you want to make sure, whether you're very visible on the internet or you're not very visible on the internet, that your electronic presence matches something, matches whatever inquiry that the job or the hiring manager may have for you. So it's been a very contentious few years. People have expressed all kinds of frustrations, political views, views about mandates, all kinds of things that are hotbed issues. If you are in the job market, you want to be careful about what you said about any hotbed issues. It's best to not have a lot of information about your political views. It's not unacceptable to have a political view. So if you do have some political views up, you know, it could be risky, but and it's probably not ideal, but you don't want them to be extreme where you've gotten into combative conversations with people online where where you spread a lot of information that either is for or not for any position that is very contentious. So you want to make sure that you have a professional point of view online. One that if a company had to defend, if a company had to look at whether or not you're a good candidate, their prevailing preferences first on what you look like online. So that's really important. So be prepared both with paper, your resume, your credentials. Um, if you have credentials or certifications or anything like that, make sure you make copies. You bring that with you, or you present that to anyone who's asking in the organization who's interested, a stakeholder in getting you hired. And then make sure that your electronic presence is up to date. If you are the kind of person who does not have an electronic presence, that may also be a question that someone may ask you. I don't see anything about you online. Why is that? So be prepared to answer about your electronic presence online. Today's day and age, there's no way that you're not going to be researched if you are looking for a role. Okay, so and that might have been very different from 20 years ago, the first time you ever got into a job. um, the next thing that I wanted to say is to frame your answers and how you will be able to help an organization. So one thing, so let me quickly tell you what I mean by that. I used to work for an organization very early in my career that had open call interviews, and I got to be the lucky HR assistant who did a bunch of first screen open call interviews by the hundreds for a new organization that was opening in the city downtown in my local city. And hundreds of people would come in, they would fill out applications, and I would do interviews, group interviews, and I would fill out an evaluation form. So I would patiently listen to the interviews. And And I started to notice a pattern after a while that someone would always tell me the reason why they needed a job, the personal reason why they needed a job. So someone would say, I would ask a question, so tell me why you're interested in working here. And the person would say, I just really need this job. And this is the reason why. And they'll tell me about some personal reason for why they need to have the job. I do think that there is a place to maybe have some conversation for the personal reason that you need a job and you need that particular job. But that does not make you the candidate that someone would hire for what you can bring to the table and your skill set. It's very important for you to be very clear about why you want the job because of how you can contribute to the team, to the division, to the company. That's really important. And so I think people get so caught up in, wow, this is a great job. It's a remote job, it's hybrid, it's this many days in the office and this many days out of the office. Perfect for my personal life situation. I'm going to let the hiring manager know. And then they're like, great. But what does that matter to me when I need somebody who can actually do the job? And so, 20 years ago, this was a face-to-face, these were face-to-face jobs that I was hiring for. They weren't a hybrid job, but the same principle applies. I had hundreds of people telling me, I just need this job and their personal reason. And then I started to ask this question. I would say, because it was literally the truth, I have 500 applications that have come in over the last couple of days. What makes you the person that will be hired for this role by the hiring manager as opposed to the other 499 applications that need to be reviewed? Well, that puts it into a whole different perspective. Now people start to get into the competitive reasons for why they are the best candidate. So I want you to take that nugget with you. I want you to think about the reason why you would be the best candidate based on your experience and based on what you're able to do in the organization, based on the role that you're looking to be hired for. So that's like the number two thing. What can you do for them? Not just talk about the perks and benefits that you will get from being employed from them. It's wonderful if they can accommodate that. It's not off the table to give a little bit of reason behind that at some point in the interview, but you want to sell your skills more than you need to be able to ask for you to ask for what you want from them first. People have to make decisions about the job. So that's one thing. And I have heard that so many times from people. People just get into their personal reasons why. And you want to be compassionate about that, but you also need to hire for the job at hand. Okay, so I wanted to post this video. I will follow up with a part two, but I wanted to get this posted now. Again, I want you to take a look in the description box below for my website, which is www.oneextraordinary.com. The name of my business is One Extraordinary Life. And we have services, classes with continuing education credits and professional development units. Check out the professional development tab. For organizations that may need training and development, we have what you need. So take a look at the website and you can contact me. Email info@oneextraordinary.com, which is on the website. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will be back with a part two about job interviewing. Thanks for your time and attention today. See you soon.